Today, now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Vivek Ramaswamy going viral for his response to the LGBT activist community when he had an activist come up to him during one of his recent events. And in terms of a Republican being articulate with his words, well, any politician really, it is quite impressive because he actually says something that's coherent, which, again, these days is pretty rare in and of itself. But I think he gives a good summary of the situation and why there's a little contention by people when it comes to these topics.
Just wondering, what were your opinions on the LGBT?
So she's not very loud, which is a first activist to not be yelling like depends on it. So she's saying, what's your opinion on the LGBT community?
Well, I don't think it's one community.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, how could it be? Just mash together an alphabet soup. Trans is fundamentally in tension with gay, if you ask.
Not sponsored by Campbell's, but probably should be. That of all the marketing initiatives, come on.
Me. But what's your opinion?
I'm personally pansexual, so I was just wondering what your views on same-sex couples were.
I don't have a negative view of same-sex couples, but I do have a negative view of a tyranny of the minority. So I think that in the name of protecting against a tyranny of the majority, and there are times in this country's history where we have had a tyranny of the majority, we have now, in the name of protecting against tyranny of the majority, created a new tyranny of the minority. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think that somebody who's religious should be forced to officiate a wedding that they disagree with. I don't think somebody who is a woman who's worked really hard for her achievements should be forced to compete against a biological man in a swim competition. I don't think that somebody who's a woman that respects her bodily autonomy and dignity should be forced to change clothes in a locker room with a man. That's not freedom, that's oppression. And so I believe...
Again, for the people who are saying those things don't happen, we showed on the show quite articulately that those things have in fact happened and are happening.
I believe that we live in a country where free adults should be free to dress how they want, behave how they want, and that's fine.
That being said, every man looks better in a suit. I can't emphasize this enough.
But you don't become oppressive by foisting that on others, and that especially includes kids, because kids aren't the same as adults. And so I think adults are free to make whatever choices they want, but do not foist that ideology onto children before children are in a position as adults to make decisions for themselves.
It is interesting to note that many public schools these days will have the pride flag, or the newer pride flag, the trans flag, where they merged them together. Very few of them have a cross in the room, or a religious flag, or sometimes they don't even have an American flag anymore. So it's fascinating to see that, that's been pushed into public schools like nothing else. Yet other political ideologies or more other religious ideologies, those aren't allowed to be there, but they get an exception.
And so I think a lot of the frustration in the country, and if I'm being really honest, that I also share, comes from that new culture of oppression where saying those things can actually get somebody punished.
Just like, as a couple days ago, Best Buy, the whole Geek Squad office was plastered with LGBT flags. It was unequal, in my opinion, because they wouldn't allow him to have a crucifix or a religious material. He couldn't have a Bible on his desk. So that doesn't seem very fair. If you want everyone to express themselves, you should be able to have a religious icon or religious biblical materials on your desk. If you're allowing the other materials, it's quite literally not fair to discriminate against one.
And in my case, it's part of why it's my responsibility to say them. And I respect that you may have a different opinion, and that's okay. Part of what makes our country great is that you and I can be civil and have this conversation, and that we live in a country that still gives us, each of us, the right to speak to a presidential candidate and back, and still say that we pledge allegiance to the same nation. So I think that's the beauty of our country, and that's my honest opinion.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks.
thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank
that.
That is astronomically impressive for human interaction. And it's just pathetic to say that this is a rare moment in the United States. You have two people of different ideologies actually having a discussion. Not a yelling match, which is all too common, unfortunately, in the United States, where people want censorship. They just want you to shut up and listen to their opinion because they're right. Very few times do you actually have a cordial exchange of ideals. Truth be told, our country is founded on the idea that not only are all men created equal, but I might not agree with what you're saying, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. And I really hope those values become more popular again, because it was the foundation for what is the greatest country in the world. And in terms of articulating your political ideals, Vivek is doing a great job. This one video is a brilliant move on the chessboard, even if he didn't intend it to be. Because this, again, authenticity is very hard to fake. And it does seem he authentically believes in these ideals, and he's respectful of the other side. Now, how much support is he going to get in terms of, right now he's pulling behind Trump. Everyone is by 30 plus points when it comes to the primary polls, where you have people voting who do they want to be the Republican nominee. There's a big delta, but Vivek is catching up to DeSantis, which DeSantis is really just known, well, he's known for being number 2. And in terms of the polling, he's usually behind Trump, usually 30 to 40% or 40 points, but he's known as the other front runner. So it'll be interesting to see. Some polls are having him getting pretty close to DeSantis, and I would argue he's much more articulate with his ideals than DeSantis. And it'll be interesting to see how much does this video help push him up in the polls. On one YouTube channel, this video got, what was this? 192,000 views and 16,000 likes. And it's one of those instances where there's a lot of good comments and a lot of good comments down there. Again, appreciate you taking time to comment because the feedback is also appreciated. Also, love to hear your experiences with the topics we cover, so I can always add them to other videos. More information, more data, the better. But when it comes to this videos, most of the comments are all just applauding Vivek's response and just knocking it out of the water, where he brings forth the concerns that everyone has, gives his opinion on that, and kind of lets people know where he's going to be politically. I was going to say where he falls politically, and how that might affect his policies if he does get the privilege of becoming United States president, what he might do to ensure that groups are not discriminated against. It'll be interesting to see. Let me know. Does this change your perception of Vivek? Do you think he's a better candidate because of this? Do you think this might be a pivotal moment in the upcoming election where people start to support me even more because of it? It'll be interesting to see, but I always say, time shall tell. Thank you again, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. If you could do us a favor, click that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the month. Also, don't forget to take the time to like and comment. Your feedback is also greatly appreciated. Makes the videos better and better, as the feedback makes my critique of everything from the content to the visuals of the increasing better and better. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.